was the planned session. This thing just came to me. Rakshit that texted me something and said, can we do this? It looks like we can. Then let's do it. Okay. And if you have to leave, don't worry at all. Please go. The half an hour or that we spent on this, that entire video is going to be shared with you. Okay, cool. So we begin. I hit on resume recording, and here we go. Good afternoon and welcome to today's session of creating presentations on Dexter and adding interactivity to regular slides. And I'm going to share my screen now, and I am going to create an entire presentation with you live. Okay, here we go. This is my screen. I hope some of you can see this. I am on the screen where I have got all these presentations going. Yeah. And this is once I log in, it's identified me as Abhilash, and it's giving me an option to say add new presentation. I click on add new presentation, and what it does is that it takes me over to a new presentation, and where it says new presentation, I can click and I can change the name for it. Okay. Building a live presentation. So this is going to be my title. Let us say I click out of it, it gets saved. There's no submit button to click or anything at all. I am going to change this, and I am going to say same thing. I can copy from here. I take it here and select this with a live audience. Okay. You can also type down some notes for yourself, for your reference about the slide. It will not be shown on the slide itself. Okay. As you can see, you have an option to change the text color, change the background color. If I wanted to do something like this, I could go on this and basically build this background. Again, if you like this kind of color, go for it. Not my style. I very much prefer my black and white presentations. Okay. So I can always go with this, and we're good to go. Cool. You also have an option to click on this, choose a background image, and do this. For example, I have an image of a screenshot that I took of all of you participating in today's presentations. I can click on that. I click open, the file gets uploaded, and almost instantly, we have got a background image here, and people are just pointing here and there. So we've got this. As you can see, the unlike in PowerPoint, I don't have all of these things where I say add text and then control the font size and all of that. What that does to you is that it lets you focus. It does not make you waste time with pick this theme, pick that theme, in that the color is going to be this, the font size is going to be that. All of that is gone. And all you have now is you focus on building the most powerful presentation that you can. This is where the type of slides are. Okay. We have 4 types of slides. One is called display slides. The other is called interactive slides. The third is called a quiz. And the fourth is called a novelty. Collaborative art, as you saw, was a novelty slide that we had built where everybody participates and creates that artwork together. And decision forest is something that we will showcase to you tomorrow, if possible, on how to build a decision forest. You all understand, hopefully, what a decision tree means. A decision tree is when you have questions, you give an answer, that question leads to another question. This question leads to another option, which has further options and so on. And basically, you create a sort of a tree there, right? So it looks kind of like this. Hang on one second. You have a question, then you have this, 2 options based on the choice that you make. You have 2, maybe 3 options, and each of them lead to further options and so on. And basically, you create some sort of a tree here, right? Decision forest is a collection of decision trees where every participant is doing his own or her own decision trees, and they all combine together to create a big forest on your screen. And when we do leadership trainings using that, it is an amazing experience for everybody to see that they can, how differently people think about each other, or their companies, processes, and all of that. In a real world, in a business, everybody should be on the same page. What is our biggest Q4 priority? If the question is, some people will say revenue, the other people will say people, the third person will say invest in training and development. So people will start seeing a lot of how their decision ideas are impacting the business, and it's a fantastic tool that we use for leadership training. So that is that. And there is the quiz. As you have seen, there is the multiple choice that we have been doing all the time. But there is also something called grid choice that I will try to showcase tomorrow if there is time. Again, remember, Dexter is a tool which is a long-term tool that you get access to. You don't have to get all features upfront. Slowly, you can start integrating them. Then we have interactive slides. We have got, for example, the make a choice and a quick word and share in detail that you have seen. A quick word builds these word clouds. Share in details creates those crawling things that you did when you gave your feedback at the end of the session. The last time we attended this. What's your name is that thing where you change your name, and in the top right corner, your name gets changed, all of that. We have got a leaderboard page, a video embedding page, image embedding page. If you pick the image embedding page, that is when the image gets shown on the participant's phone as well. You want to avoid doing this because that is distraction once again. You don't want to give distraction on their phone. Third, and also if you give everything on their phone, they will never bother looking at the laptop only. They'll just take the phone and go away. Icons is that thing where you get these one after the other icons. The suggested number of icons is 6. Do not exceed 6, otherwise it becomes unreadable. Bullet points, like I said, while you can add as many as you want, my suggestion is 5. 5 is too many. Title page is this. So as you can see, while there's a lot of variety that Dexter gives you, it limits your choices of font sizes and all of that, and thereby lets you focus on the presentation itself. I hope that makes sense. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to take add a new slide and talk about
Abhilash, is it possible to doodle on a blank slide?
With how doodle how?
Doodle in the sense I want to doodle something on a slide and it becomes part of the presentation.
No. That's a good idea though. I will consider that. Since I've been using this tool and I don't like to keep my doodles, considering my skill level on that. That is not an idea we had thought of, but we'll definitely consider that. Okay, so training topics, this is my screen, and I am going to ask you to enter a quick word. So I do this, okay? And if I was to present, unfortunately, you'll have to change your Dexter code once more because we're building something new now. I ask you to go to dexter.io, guest.dexter.io once more, enter 501960, and you'll be here. As you can see, these are reaction icons. I can enable this or this, this and this, and go here, and they will start appearing as and when people hit on one of them. So, and go to guest.dexter.io, go to 501960, and what I want you to do once you get here is that I want you to enter a topic, okay? A session, goal setting, somebody said, brilliant. Leadership. Go for it. Self-awareness, interpersonal skills. These are sessions that you hopefully already do, and you have entered these things. Somebody says, Dexter, thank you very much. I am happy to do this entire session about Dexter because I am the core developer here. I absolutely love my code. And if you ask a developer about coding or a runner about running, they will talk to you about it for like 2 hours without breaking a sweat. Don't make me talk about Dexter. Let's focus on this session. Communication skills, emotional intelligence, implicit conversations. That's brilliant. Okay. You don't have to type a new thing. If you like something here, you can type that thing again and the font size for that becomes bigger. What that does is it gives me an idea of which one to pick. Okay. Anybody else contributing?
And you have limited each participant to contribute only once. Can people contribute more than once as well? Is that possible?
No. I have limited them to only one, because again, our experience has been this anonymity that we give to our users sometimes corrupts some of them, and they start filling up with nonsense. And then your job becomes one of moderator.
I'm just asking, is that a possibility in certain scenario if you want more?
Oh yeah, of course. My point was, my experience with this has not been good. There is always some disruptor who, even this little level of power goes to their head, and because you don't know who is doing instantly, it can create a bit of a issue. I know people used to disrupt by doing stuff like hitting the, icon, the heart icon, tap, where you put cancel, and in the bottom right corner, that numbers keep changing, and it gets on your nerves as a facilitator.
Yeah, Abhilash, this is Ravi Kumar here.
Yes,
as a
Ravi.
facilitator, will I be able to understand who has answered and who did not answer? Although I see that numbers.
Not during the session, Ravi Kumar.
Okay.
Not during the session, because the problem is you have a shared screen, and if you look at it instantly, they know that information is not anonymous now.
Okay.
So that is something that is not allowed on the screen at the moment. Okay, all right. We have got a lot of input here: decision making, time management, sales training. I'll just pick something at random then. Yeah. Let's go with the brightest color looking, peachy looking decision making thing. And again, this is not about anything other than showing you how it is to be built and how ideas can be showcased. Okay. Decision making it is. I hope most of you agree to it, and I am going to add a new slide. Hopefully you will not be building these slides in front of your audience like I am doing, and I'm going to do a quick one and ask you, are you happy with this? And I'm going to say the type is one of make a choice, and I'm going to get rid of the subheading. I'm going to add a bullet and say yes, and add another one that says no. Okay. Okay. Yes or no? Are you happy with the choice of topic? Okay. So basically, I have picked up the topic as decision making. So basically, here's what I do. Whenever I'm taking audience in poll, so to speak, and I ask them to suggest options, and based on that, I'm going to change the rest of the session. I'm going to do something live like this. I do this all the time with creative thinking, critical analysis skills, and all of that. I always take a topic from the audience and then do an entire session in which I, how do I say, ask them to contribute, and those topics itself now become the rest of my session. I don't come prepared for the topic itself. While I have 50 slides, all of them are placeholder styles, and this slide would already be there. So what would happen is that I would say, these are the contributions, and I have picked decision making from here. And I ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen, are you happy with this choice of topic? Yes or no? And you vote
Real-time
now.
co-creation. So it becomes real-time co-creation.
Yeah. So now what happens is people start feeling, okay, hang on. I think I did not do one small thing. If you're answering and it's not coming, I did not pick the chart type. I have two chart options. I could pick pie chart or I could pick column chart. When there are few things, I always pick a column chart. Okay. So as you can see, about 15 of you are saying yes. Now what happens is that what I'm going to say is, to the one person who thinks they are not happy with this decision making, I hope you will come along with this journey. Remember, it is not about creating a decision making presentation. You all can do a better job of that yourself. But I am trying to showcase how we build it, and that can be learned equally well whether you do decision making or something else, right? So what you're doing, one, you are acknowledging that most of them are happy with the choice of topic, and you are then also addressing this bunch of people, if there are more of them, and saying, listen, I understand that you did not get what you want. You had suggested something, obviously you were looking for it, but if I may request you to come along this journey, because it is still going to be a lot of fun, because it's about the ideas, not the actual topic. So what I've done, if you see now, in 3 sessions, and it is very much possible that when I used to do this earlier, I never went blank like I'm doing now. I didn't come up with this. What I used to do was, I know guaranteed somebody is going to suggest COVID-19 when I talk about problem solving, right? And I would spend a few hours preparing for COVID-19, that should the participants not participate, I am clearly prepared for it. But now I have become comfortable enough that if you engage your audience enough, they will give you what you want. And not just because you people are facilitators, even regular participants who don't come to learn new ideas around facilitation will still participate. And this session, co-creation, as somebody said, this becomes that. People are a lot more involved in it because there's a specific example here. I hope that makes a little sense. And if you all are happy with this, since I don't have a next slide, what I'm going to do is, if I was building, let us say, I was given a brief to talk about decision making. Okay, I will think of all the things around decision making that I know about. Okay, since I've already done the trolley problem, that is about ambiguity of decision making, I will not use that. I will think, okay, what else do I have around decision making? Is there, I could ask you, but since I am showing you my thinking process, I'm just sitting now thinking about, are there any culturally relevant ideas that I can present about decision making? Okay, something that is faintly coming to my mind is something called a prisoner's dilemma. Okay, I hope some of you know about it. If not, it does not matter. This will be a new learning for you as well. And I want to put my mind out there and say, prisoner's dilemma is what I am going to talk about. So prisoner's dilemma is, in fact, if this thing works out well, you might actually have an entire mini game right out of this. Let me get rid of this. And I say, and do you see what I'm doing here? I am building this, but each time I am keeping my audience engaged with it. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you, you all know about prisoner's dilemma? Hit the thumbs up if you know about it. Hit the thumbs down if you don't know about it. Now, again, I'm talking a lot in the background, but if I was not talking, if this was a seamless session, what would have happened is that I asked you ideas, I picked one, I asked you, are you happy with it? Okay. And then the session is moving smoothly to a point where you think all of this has already been planned, while none of it has actually been planned. So we are all in this together. And if you start seeing that your ideas, your suggestions are seeing the light of the day right on the screen, in the creative problem solving, for example, one time somebody suggested water pollution, right? And we did a 3-hour session trying to solve the water pollution problem of Bangalore. That was it. That was the entire session. And everything, every concept I had to talk about in the CPS process, the ideation, the, strengthening of the idea, the implementation of the idea, everything now became contextualized towards water pollution. And I talked enough about the theory of it so that they could still, how do I say, apply it to their real life problems as well. Okay. So since a lot of you do not know about prisoner's dilemma, let me quickly sketch it out for you. I'll tell you what. I will I will get rid of this. I'll just explain to you the theory. Hopefully, as I'm typing it, you will understand what that theory is. And the prisoner's dilemma is simple. This is the situation. See, the language that I'm using is conversational. So even like I said, people will walk away from you and not, sometimes their voice sound is not working. They can't hear what you are saying. They have put your speaker on mute because there is something else happening here. So the words that they see on the screen should be conversational as well, as if I am talking straight to them. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to add bullet points now because I have to explain a lot of situations. Okay, I'm going to say the situation is this, and pay attention. I'm actually explaining the situation now of prisoner's dilemma to people who do not know. It is A and B are thieves. This is it. This is my first point. Okay, now you know what it is. They have been caught. Do you see what is happening? I am slowly stringing that story in points. I'm not explaining it. I'm also explaining it, but I also have it on the screen right there. The police makes them an offer. They can either cooperate with each other, or they can deceive each other. Okay. Now what happened? Imagine this. This is me explaining the situation. Obviously, I'll have a background image where there's going to be a prison or something in the background just to make a point without distracting. I will not have that photo from Sholay where Amitabh Bachchan or somebody is in jail, because I don't want to distract my audience from the main agenda here. Okay. So prisoner's dilemma, as we are building about decision making, I explain the situation like this. I've got one small spelling mistake here. I'm a bit of a pedantic person. So, or they can deceive each other. These are the choices they have been given. And then what happens with those choices is that I'm not going to waste my time creating an entire, a 2x2 matrix on this. I am going to just explain to you on this slide only what is going to happen. On the screen is going to be an image in my final presentation, for example. It is going to be like this. If A deceives B, I hope you can read this. If A deceives B, but B cooperates, four things can happen, right? If I draw a matrix where A is deceiving and B is also deceiving, or A is cooperative but B is deceiving, B is deceiving and A is cooperative, A is cooperative, B is cooperative. These four things can happen. Okay. If somebody is not following this conversation, please unmute and speak up, and I will clarify again. Basically, the police has given an option. You can either deceive that person, tell us about that person's information, and we will, how do I say, give you some, additional things, or you can cooperate with them and you will get some punishment. So
yeah, you have to change the third one. You have to change the third one. Yeah, third and second one you have put. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So B deceives, B cooperates and A deceives. Okay, I hope that makes sense.
Perfect. Continue.
Okay. So once you get this point, the police, what it is saying is that if both of you deceive each other, okay, let's start with this. If both of you cooperate with each other, and I'm going to change my stylus color now, and say, if both of you deceive each other, cooperate with each other, both of you serve 1 year each in jail. And what that means is that you will not snitch about B, B will not snitch about you, both of you cooperate, and you get 1 year in jail. However, if you both deceive each other, right? Hang on 1 second, please. You both deceive each other, then you'll end up serving 3 years in jail. Here's the big deal. If you cooperate, but this guy deceives, B is going to walk out with 0 years, whereas you get 2 years. You're seeing how this situation is becoming complicated now? If he cooperates and you deceive, in this case, C, who is cooperating, will end up in 2 years in jail, but because this guy deceived, he is going to get 0 years. Okay, now here's the situation. Okay, I can present this in various ways. I can type out all of this, but can everybody confirm they understand what is happening here? If both of you cooperate, both of you end up serving only 1 year each. If both of you deceive, both of you end up serving 3 years in jail. However, if you get deceived but you keep quiet, you go to jail for 3 years and that person walks away scot-free. Do you see how now this becomes a decision-making game? What will you do is the question. Assume this slide was that where I will erase this from the screen. Hope it all makes sense to everyone. Okay. So once I do this, what I'm going to do is that on this slide, I explain the punishment matrix, so to speak. Okay. And I'm going to add one more slide now. Okay. What I could have done is I could have told this entire story as is. What would you do? What is your best course of action? I'll talk about game theory and all of that. I am not doing that. I am asking you, what will you do in that situation? Okay. I'm going to say, what will you do? And I'm going to turn this into a, can people not write on the screen, please? It is very, very distracting. Thank you. I'll give a make a choice option. And I'm going to say 2 options. The first one is that I will cooperate, and I'll say I will deceive. Okay. And I'm going to not make that mistake again. I'm going to go here and I'm going to select a pie chart this time just for fun. Or no, let's keep it simple. Here we go. I present this and I ask you, if you look on your screen now or you refresh your page or something, you will see that you are being asked a question. I will cooperate or I will deceive. What will you do? 3 of you said that you will cooperate. Okay. See what is happening now is that I can talk about this and I can make jokes at your expense. Nice, well-humored jokes. And I'm like, wow, you guys are like really nice. I like so much the fact that 9 of you are willing to cooperate. I don't know who these 3 people are who will deceive, but come on, man, you're supposed to play as a team. You're not supposed to be deceiving you. So what is happening now is that their participation is now becoming the centerpiece of your conversation. And this way, you could have quoted statistics and said, you know, when this survey was done in Northern Ireland in 1997, when this question was asked, 70% of people said that they are willing to cooperate, whereas others said that they will deceive. You don't have to do any of that because you have the opportunity to get the audience input. That survey does not matter. You've got a statistically significant number of people right in front of you here. Why would you quote a 30-year-old survey for something? You are better off quoting the numbers right here. So these participations now become your statistics. And you can say, all right, this is crazy because, you know, there is a small twist in the story. People who do not understand the actual, way in which a prison works. I'm glad you don't. I hope you never go to one. But if you were ever caught by the police for stealing something, you are not put together in one room. You know, you're put in 2 separate rooms. And you are asked your opinion without consulting with your teammate or whatever. You don't know what that person is going to do. You have to make a decision based on not enough information. So what I do now is that I say, here's the twist. This is, again, if you see, my entire tone is extremely conversational. And if I had the right kind of, choice of background, time for all of that, I took enough time to do this, I could very, very happily build an entire 20-30 minute session around this. Okay. Not just building this, like actual session only. And now that I think about it, I think actually do it. I'm actually going to use it in one of my decision-making sessions. So I'm going to say, here's the twist. And I'm going to add another slide and say, sorry, where was the twist? Not you, A and B cannot talk to each other. Right? Do you see what is happening now? I'm slowly building this up. If I was telling this as a story, right, I would have built it up slowly as well. But since I have the added advantage of taking people's interaction into consideration, I am not sharing my entire story all at once, but instead I am breaking the story step by step. Even as I was doing this, I knew I'm going to add a twist page to this because I assumed that you're all going to believe you can talk to each other, right? And my question now becomes, now what will you do? Right? I get rid of this and I change the slide back to make a choice. I add a bullet and in here I put cooperate once more. Go to this, make it deceive once more, go here, change that to column chart, come back, and obviously I would have prepared all of this beforehand only because I know how this conversation is going to go. And I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, once more, now that you know that you cannot depend on talking to that person, what will you do? Right? I'm asking you, will you, based on this new information that you cannot depend on it, cannot believe that person, you don't know what is happening in their life, will they care for you? What happens now is that if you cooperate and the other party deceives, you are going to go to jail for 3 years and that person will walk away free. Will you still be friends with that person who deceived you even when you cooperated with them? So what I'm doing is I'm piling on more and more information as people are voting. I'm no longer commenting about the vote. I've already done that. Okay. And what happens is if a few more people could vote, I can take this in the right direction. Don't vote to sway the vote. Vote your mind. Now that you know you cannot talk to each other, would you still cooperate or would you deceive? Right? And what is happening is that I can change this conversation any way I want now. I'm letting you a peek into my mind on how I would do a session like this. If I see that the previous one was also done like this, where about 70% people said cooperate, 40% people, 30% people said they will deceive, and this is similar, I can change this and say, you guys are amazing. Even when you know that you cannot talk to each other, you still want to cooperate with each other. And the one person who said who will deceive before, who said cooperate before and now is saying that he will deceive or she will deceive, I like the way you think. You can string sentences along as the vote is changing in front of you. And what that does is that it grabs the audience. They are going to, for the very first time in their life, experience something that they are contributing in real time to a session. Every change in the slide, every change in the bar graph is something that is going to be mentioned. And I feel as a participant, if I was a participant in this, I feel validated. Like, all right, my opinion counts here. This person has not come just to give me some gyan, but instead taking my personal bias or personal opinions into consideration and molding or co-creating the session, so to speak. And there you will get what you want. I hope I have made the point clear about this.
When we are not able to poll, when we were not able to participate in the poll, what does that mean?
If you are not able to participate in the poll as a participant, now you are saying?
Enter heading here, the title is there, but I did not get any option actually to vote. So what
does it say mean? Now what will you do on your phone screen?
No, the previous one, enter heading here, you were started doing it, right?
Yeah. Just refresh the page once, sir. Just drag it to the bottom and go. Or wait, I will force it for you. I will go back.
It does come. Once the refreshing it,
and you will come along. Yeah.
Thanks.
So you can still vote. Yeah. What happens is your phone sometimes the way these days the phone data saving and all is set up, right? I am expecting your phone to refresh every 1 second to check if something has changed on the presenter slide. Okay,
Fine.
that is how it knows. But some data saving thing might be preventing your phone from refreshing. Again, like I said, technical problems you cannot do anything about. You just take it in your stride and say, if you're every once in a while, you keep reminding people. If you can't see this on your screen right now, quickly do a refresh and you're good to go. Okay. Anyway, so what we did now was that people who understands prisoner's dilemma, here is the dilemma. What is the prisoner supposed to do? The prisoner who cannot talk to each other, let's say A is for Alex, B is for Betty, for rather than giving them A and B name. The matrix, if I was to draw once again, I'll tell you what, I'll take a whole new slide for it, which is how I would have done in real life as well. Here's your best bet. And I'm going to say, you should deceive. Okay. Let me try and explain that point. Okay. What I want to do is I want to draw that again. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this primarily because I don't have an image. Otherwise, I would have had an image. I'll tell you what. Why not? Let me quickly search if I can find some image on Google. This is how I would approach it. Prisoner's dilemma. I search, and is there somewhere? Okay, I think I have a decent image. All right. Oh, damn, they've used it. Okay, this is one. This one's good. Okay, I am going to, please bear with me as I quickly save this image on my desktop. I go here. Now I don't need any of this. I can change this now to an image page so that this image also appears on your phone when I refresh it. I go to color/image and is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. There we go. And I even get rid of this one. I don't even want to talk about this. I've cleaned up everything. And hopefully, if you refresh your phone now, you should be able to see the image on your phone as well. I wanted to pay attention on the laptop only, but I just showed you how the image style thing works. So here's what happens. Like I've already explained this. A stays silent, B stays silent, B betrays A betrays B. So these are the 4 combinations that can happen. Now, what I want to do is, as if I was facilitating to a team of one of my corporate clients, I'm going to explain to you the prisoner's dilemma, how it can be solved. Okay. Now, let us say you are A. Okay. This is you. You are A. And you have 2 choices, right? If B stays silent, if you assume, these are the 2 things you can assume. The first thing you can assume is that B is going to stay silent and is going to cooperate. You have 2 options. Either you can stay silent or you can betray. Assume what happens if you stay silent. If you stay silent, you get to serve 1 year in prison. But if you betray, you go free. Okay? So if your guess is that B is going to keep quiet, your best bet is to actually betray. Does that make sense? If it's not clear for anybody, please tell me. I'll explain this again. Basically, if you believe that B is going to remain silent, your best bet is to betray, because by doing that, you get to go free rather than serving 1 year. Okay. Let's look at the alternate option, in which you're still A, but this time you're guessing that B is going to betray you. Okay. Once again, you have 2 choices. You can either remain silent or you can betray. However, this is what happens. If you assume that B is going to betray you and you keep quiet, you end up spending 3 years in jail. However, if you also betray, you end up spending only 2 years in jail. So once again, even if B was to betray you, your best bet still remains to betray. If you turn this around and think from the B's point of view, you will see no matter what A does, your best bet as B is to betray once again. So this is the decision paradox that we arrive at, where if you both had cooperated as a team, you would have served a total of 2 years. But if you apply logic to this, if you do not trust each other, if you do not depend on each other, while individually it is your best bet to betray each other, but as a team, you will both serve 4 years in jail. So now you can turn this whole thing into decision making and say that, prisoner's dilemma is not just a thought experiment where you're asked to do this. This is a classic case of game theory in which, again, I urge you all to read more about prisoner's dilemma and game theory. And this game theory is applied in, again, I will not do this. I'll show you how I would have done it. I would have said, now that you understand how decision making works, let me, I talk a little more about prisoner's dilemma in the real world. Once again, if you see what I'm doing, I am playing with font sizes here by giving you the big point in the big font and the small ones in the small font. I'm going to go and change the type of this to bullets and tell you what, why bullets? Let's talk about icons so that I get to showcase one more thing. I go here and I type marketing and ads. Okay. I can go here. I have a list of all icons here. I don't want to waste your time on this. So I'll just use this calculator icon on this, and one icon with one text appears. I do this and I say game design, right? I'm saying this because I kind of understand, I know this thing, an icon is a puzzle piece. I can click that. And once I step out of this, whenever you do this, you type something, select something, you click outside and it gets immediately applied. I can say one final thing and say politics, and I can apply an icon here and something, anything relevant at all. All right, let me use this. Okay. So this is what I do. Now what I do was, my original idea with this presentation, let us say, was if I wanted to build a decision-making presentation to present, not like build it live in front of you and give you ideas on how to plan a session. Let's say I wanted to, one of my brief from my client was, please talk about game theory and prisoner's dilemma. Please talk about game theory and prisoner's dilemma application in a real world context, right? I could, in theory, start from here. Hello there, good morning. How are you doing today? Let's talk about, this is my agenda. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 that I'm going to talk about. The first thing is I am going to talk about prisoner's dilemma and game theory application in real world. I can jump straight into this as an agenda point. But what I did was I asked you to indulge with me and this session for exactly 5 minutes. If I'd done this in real time, this would have taken barely 5 minutes of your time. And in that 5 minutes, I would have set context enough. I would have intrigued you enough. I would have created enough curiosity in your mind that you will actually listen to the game theory and prisoner's dilemma in real world application of marketing and ads, game design and politics. And I will now have new slides. I'm going to create a from this point, I am going to add slide and I'm going to say PD in marketing, right? And I can take an example and say something else. I could go to an image. I upload an image here. And as I talk about this, I talk about how, because of prisoner's dilemma, what people don't understand is that if these were two companies, there is P for Pepsi and C is for Coca-Cola. If P does not waste money on, say, they have two choices. They can spend, they have an ad budget and they have a marketing budget, let's say. Again, imagine these are well-designed slides and all of that. They have this, both Pepsi has this and Coke has it. If they do not spend anything on ads or marketing, then let us say they are cooperating with each other and they are going to get 50% of the market and make a revenue of some 4 million per week or whatever, right? And I would say if they compete with each other, what will happen is that most likely they will still get 50-50 share because they're trying to outcompete each other. But now they have a 2 million marketing spend or ad budget. And therefore, while they are still making enough revenue by selling their soft drink, they are actually losing 2 millions. It makes no sense for them to be, deceiving each other rather than cooperating with each other. But when they look at the alternative, if Coke advertises and Pepsi does not, then it looks like it is 30-70. When Coke does not advertise and Pepsi does, then it may look like 70. I might be messing up the numbers a bit, but you get the theory. The theory is this: people will understand this better now because you've told them in a context, asked them to participate in this. And now when you're talking about a very detailed technical topic like prisoner's dilemma and game theory in marketing, then rather than jumping straight into it, get people to learn the topic by experience, by simple examples and interactive ways. And that should take care of this. I hope this was a little meaningful for you. I will hold on to this slide and screen share for a little longer if anybody has questions. If not, I will stop sharing and we can talk for 10 minutes and we're done. Okay. I assume that your questions, if you had any, were either already answered or we are running